He was one of the most well-connected men in the world. Billionaires, presidents, royalty, they all knew his name, and for nearly 2 decades, that power protected him from consequences that would have destroyed anyone else. This is the story of Jeffrey Epstein and how the system failed the people who needed it most. Jeffrey Epstein was born in 1953 in Brooklyn, New York. He dropped out of college but talked his way into a teaching job at an elite Manhattan prep school. From there, he landed a position at Bear Stearns, one of Wall Street's most powerful investment banks. No degree, no formal qualifications, just charm, intelligence, and an ability to make powerful people feel important. By the 1980s, he had his own financial firm and a client list that included some of the wealthiest individuals on the planet. He lived in the largest private residence in New York City. He owned a private island in the US Virgin Islands. He had a private jet, and he had connections that reached into every corner of power in America and beyond. In 2005, police in Palm Beach, Florida, received a report that Epstein had sexually abused a minor at his mansion. Investigators began looking into the case and found more accusers, then more. The FBI opened a federal investigation. What they uncovered was a pattern of abuse involving dozens of young girls, many of them recruited by being promised money or modeling opportunities. The scale of what investigators found was serious enough that federal prosecutors believed they had a case that could have put Epstein behind bars for life. Then something happened that would become one of the most controversial legal decisions in modern American history. In 2008, Epstein's legal team struck a deal with then U.S. Attorney Alexander Acosta. Instead of facing federal charges that carried a potential life sentence, Epstein pleaded guilty to 2 state charges in Florida. He received 18 months in a county jail, and, crucially, he was allowed to leave the jail 6 days a week on work release, spending up to 12 hours a day at his private office. The victims were never notified the deal was being made. The agreement also granted immunity to any co-conspirators. It was a deal that many legal experts described as extraordinarily lenient. Acosta would later resign from his position as U.S. Labor Secretary when the full details of the agreement became public. Epstein served 13 months and walked free in 2009. He registered as a sex offender but continued living the same life. The private jet, the island, the connections. Civil lawsuits from victims continued to pile up, but Epstein remained free for 10 more years. Then, in July 2019, federal prosecutors in New York arrested Epstein on new sex trafficking charges. They concluded they were not bound by the earlier Florida deal. Investigators searched his Manhattan townhouse and found evidence that supported the charges. Epstein pleaded not guilty and was denied bail. He was placed in the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York to await trial. On August 10, 2019, Epstein was found unresponsive in his jail cell. He was 66 years old. The official cause of death was ruled suicide by hanging. He had been taken off suicide watch just days before, despite a previous incident in the same jail. The 2 prison guards on duty that night had both fallen asleep and falsified records saying they had checked on him. They were later charged with conspiracy and falsifying prison records. His death set off a firestorm. Conspiracy theories spread immediately. A man who allegedly knew the secrets of some of the most powerful people in the world died in federal custody before his trial could begin. Many of his accusers publicly stated they felt robbed of their chance to face him in court and have their day of justice. Following his death, his longtime associate Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested in July 2020 on charges that she helped recruit and groom Epstein's victims. After a month-long trial in 2021, Maxwell was convicted of sex trafficking and related charges. In June 2022, she was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. In January 2024 and again in early 2025, court documents from a civil lawsuit involving Epstein were unsealed. The files contained names of individuals who had interacted with Epstein in various capacities, some as accusers, some as witnesses, some as associates. The releases triggered intense public scrutiny, but did not result in new criminal charges against any named individuals. Jeffrey Epstein died before a jury could deliver a verdict. His victims never got to see him convicted in a federal court. The full extent of who knew what and when remains one of the most debated, unanswered questions in recent history. What is not debated are the documented experiences of the people he abused. Their accounts are part of the court record, and they deserve to be heard. Every week on this channel, one real case. No fluff, just the facts. If you want the next one, hit subscribe and drop a comment. Do you think justice was